Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Simple C10, and I am pumped for today's episode because it's time. It is finally time. We're gonna install this AIC subwoofer box. So this is called a SloshSubz. Just click the title of this video and I have all the information there. But I've got a lot of stuff right here and I want to tell you all about it because this thing is going to be sick. I remember seeing one of these boxes at Southeastern Truck Nationals a couple years ago, and it just said 60 to 66 coming soon. And I thought, man, if they ever make one or whenever it's done, I'm going to get one of these for my truck. And that's exactly what I did. I reached out to Mike and his team over at SloshSubz and asked, can I get one of these? And they teamed up with AIC. AIC is the ones that designs this whole box in-house, and they do a great job with that. I reached out to them and we discussed step by step kind of everything that I would need. I said, okay, now that I've got the box, I've really always wanted JL subs. Ever since high school, I was running kickers, I had Memphis Audio, all great speakers, but I always wanted a JL sub. So they make these boxes specifically for the JL W3 10 and 12s. You can get either one that you want. I'm running 10s on this box. So I reached out to them and they kind of broke down, here's the amp that you'll need, here's the subs, the wiring kit, the knobs, everything that I'm gonna need to know to install this box. But when I was talking to them, I said, listen, I've got a custom auto sounds radio in my truck and it kind of doesn't sound that great, and I really love to just run audio from my phone most of the time. And I used to have a Bluetooth amplifier on one of my trucks that I just ran through my phone and it worked pretty good. What would you recommend? Is there an option for JL that would allow me just to use my phone for all the audio? They recommended this part right here. This is a JL Audio Bluetooth receiver. So all this is gonna do is plug into the back of your amp the same way your radio would, and it connects to any Bluetooth device. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a completely radio-free audio system in the back of my truck. It's going to be running 6.5 JLs, these 10s, and any other audio that I hook up to the amp. So this just sends your signal to the amp, and then the amp puts out to all your speakers and the subs and everything. The amp that I have right here, the RD900-5, it's a 5-channel amp. So 4 of those channels will go to my highs and mids, and then the 5th channel will go to the subwoofers. And I'm going to run these subwoofers in parallel. And trust me, I didn't know any of this language until just a week ago when I really started diving in. How do you wire this thing in parallel? How do I get the best sound? How do you adjust it? So after a lot of research, I've got a little bit of information that I'll share. If you're an audio expert, you're probably thinking, dude, don't do that, or you should have done this. I'm just going by what I've read. The team at AIC sent me a wiring diagram to wire it up in parallel, and I'll go all through that after I get the box installed. But I want to show you some of the other stuff that I got here, and then we'll begin to throw this thing in the back of the truck. In addition to the Bluetooth, they also sent a bass knob, and this is going to be really good whenever I want to adjust the bass down and just, you know, have a regular listening experience with a little bit of bass, and then I can crank it up to really bump. And I haven't had any kind of subwoofer system in my truck since high school. I had a Blazer with 4 Memphis 10s in it, and it was awesome. Here's the wiring kit for it. So I won't have to use these that go to the radio, but I will use everything else. And eventually I'm going to run a dual battery on Lucky with a battery isolator as well. So in a future episode, you'll see me install another battery. I want to hook the sound system up to the secondary battery alone, and then have an isolator that if that battery gets drained because of the sound system, it doesn't affect my compressors and my main battery that's to the truck. Here's the amp. This is a JL RD900-5. It's a 5-channel amp, and I read some reviews online. This thing has almost all 5 star rating. So this is a really, really good amp. I wanted this whole system to be JL subs, JL amp, JL Bluetooth, and the kick panel speakers, everything, to really see how that sounds, to have everything uniform. For those that know me, I like everything to kind of match and tie in together. So on this build, that's what I'm doing. I bought these JL C2 650s. These are 6.5s, and these will go on my kick panels. And they do have a nice little magnet, but these are the shallow depth, so these should work well in the Armadillo Fab kick panel that I'll be installing here in just a minute. Here's the doozy right here. This is the JL 10 TW3. This is a 10-inch thin line subwoofer. So this is a really big subwoofer, but it's not very deep. That way it will fit in the box without hitting the back of it. So to fit behind the seat of a C10, you don't have a lot of room. That's what I love this box for, is it fits behind the seat, gives you plenty of room, and then it'll fit 2 big speakers in it as well. So after I get the box installed, I'll open up all these goodies. I'll go into more detail about the specs for each thing. But until we get to that point, we want to go ahead and keep everything boxed so I don't lose anything. What's up, buddy?
Can I watch tomorrow?
Check out this guy right here. Here, this is Oliver. How old are you, Oliver?
5 years old.
5 years old. What's the name of that green truck right there? What's the name of the green truck right there? Yeah.
Lucky.
Lucky, you knew it. He knows all the names of the truck. What's the name of that blue truck I just sold?
Francis.
Francis, yep. Good job. So here you can get a better look of the actual box. This box comes in a lot of different other patterns. Whenever you reach out to SloshSubz or AIC, you'll see all the different styles that they have. You can go check out their Instagram or Facebook and see all the different styles. They've got them with little hidden compartments in here, or logos, or you can get plexiglass in the middle. There's thousands of different combinations that you can get. With this build, I just wanted to keep it simple, match the same type of material that was in the Snowden seat. And the way that these go in, they're just going to go into the truck and then they're going to screw in from the bottom. So this is a flashback to the last episode where I installed the carpet and everything. You'll see me cutting out the brackets on the back where the fuel tank was. So the fuel tank has to be removed. The 2 brackets on the back side, you cut those out, grind them smooth, and then the actual bottom strap bracket, you cut it flush, and it's all on the instructions as well. It gives you step-by-step instructions of what to cut, what a correct result is. And then on this step right here is where we're at. We're going to set this box into the truck, kind of where it goes, and then I'm going to take my solder and go through the hole that's right here to melt the carpet where the hole needs to be. Then I'm going to make that hole a little bit bigger. That way we can run the self-tapper through the box. But before I bolt the whole box in, after I mock it up, I'm going to run some of the speaker wire that goes from the kick panel speakers, just enough wire, they're not hooked up yet, to run to where the amp is going to be. So I'm going to have all my wires running on the back side of the box through this little cubby hole right here that I'll show you in just a minute. There's an insert that you can feed your wires through. That way you don't see any wires in the front of the truck. So I'll do some of those wires, and then once I get it mocked up, I can run my power and ground and remote wire through the hole in the floor and then through the back where the amp is going to be. I want to have everything, this whole thing mounted in where it needs to go, with all the amp wires kind of hanging on the inside, so I can put the amp up there and then cut everything to length to make it really nice and tidy and fit perfectly in the back of the truck. So right now I'm just going to take off this front piece and set this into the truck and see what we're working with. This is just magnet on here, which I love. It's really easy. You see that they have these little magnets. There's 5 of them there that holds on the back side. These do not come wrapped. That's a possibility for the future. Eric Roden from Threadshed upholstered these. He's the same one that did my door panels that you saw in an earlier video, but he did a great job of matching all the contours. This thing looks awesome. You can get it where this is actually cut out so it displays your amp, but I wanted everything behind and hidden, just the speaker sticking out. That way it's all protected, it's tucked in, it's really nice here. Before I install it in the truck, I wanted to mention this piece. It comes with this piece as well, and this is magnet. It magnets to the bottom. So when I set it in there, this is going to be a filler piece that matches the contour of the floor that really dials it in so there's not a gap underneath the sub box. So I'll show you that once I get it installed, but that's another detail thing that I love that's really going to lock this thing in and make it look like it was built in the truck. This thing's beefy. Remember, I left all the carpet on the back side and on the bottom too. That way it cuts down on the vibration. So I just wanted to mock it all up right there, kind of how it looks. Whole box needs to scoot back some because it fits. Nice. So here's kind of the predicament. It was in there so tight, like it's in there so good. I don't want to be pulling it in and out, but I really do need to get like my wires and everything. This is the Stinger wiring kit. This is the one that they sent me, and this is what I'm going to use. I'm going to open it up and I'll show you exactly what I'm going to use out of it. You don't have to use this kit. You can use any kit that you want. With a fuse. I will be installing that fuse somewhere, and then this is the ground wire. This is usually the wire that you would use to run to the back of the radio to the amplifier. I'm not going to be using that because I'm using the Bluetooth thing, but here's the power wire and a remote. So the remote just goes to a keyed ignition so it knows when to turn the radio on. I'll run this up to the fuse box onto one of the ignition fuses. Probably use a jumper on that, and I'll show you what that is later. But this is basically all that we need. Some of the connectors, and I will not be using this stuff. Okay, I just kind of pushed in on the left and pulled out on the right, and I was able to get it out. That's good because now I can run all my wire without freaking out. So to run the wires here, I am going to run them across the top right here and drop them in here. You can't run them across the back because the back hits this part here. So I'm just going to leave what I think is enough space there and run them behind the sub box right there. Or wire right there, and then the remote wire. I'm going to go ahead and run my speaker wire. This is for the kick panel speakers. I'm just going to stick this in the same way. We're just going to take off the faceplate right here, and this is where all the settings are. You can see like this. So I like that all the wiring is at the top. That way I can run all the wires from the top of the box into one side. I have seen some amps have some wires here, some on the back. Don't really like those settings. I want to flip this over and share a little bit. I love these types of fittings. So you take your Allen and you put it down in here, just stick the wire and then clamp it down. And this is going to make all those wires look really clean coming out of here. Instead of seeing a bunch of stripped wires, the whole wire goes down in there with the strip part and then it'll bolt down. But this is a 5-channel amp. As you see here, it tells you channel 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and then the subwoofer. I'm going to be using channels 1 and 2 right here for the front left and front right. If I ever want to add other speakers, I can add in those right here. It has the different frequencies for each channel, and then also a low pass filter for the subwoofer here. It's got the input sensitivity, lots of different settings here. So once I get everything hooked up, I will mess with the settings. I don't know a ton about that, but we'll figure it out. Right here is the input selection. So usually this would come from your radio, but this is going to hook into our Bluetooth receiver. It'll plug into here. We'll mount the Bluetooth receiver over on the side somewhere where it looks good, and then we will have everything hooked up. You'll put the cover back on here and it'll look clean. So the main reason I wanted to get this out is to see where the speakers bolted in. So this actually works perfect, because if I bolt it in like this, the speakers are coming across the top and they're all going to be right here. So how I have the speakers right now is perfect. And then also the jack for the bass knob is right there beside it. So I think exactly how I have the wires right now will work. So that's peace of mind. Let's wire this bad boy up. Let's go. So I'm gonna untape all this stuff I got going on right here, because I'm gonna come back and put some of those clamps, the rubberized clamps that I usually use for my airline and all the stuff on the rear of the frame, and I'm gonna use it for the top of the box. I think there's gonna be just enough room underneath the lip of this to mount the wires. Post in the comments, what was your first system that you ever had, or what kind of audio put out the best quality, or, you know, I'd love to hear your audio stories and give me some feedback. It's always cool to hear other people's stories and what they've done. So here's the amp. Here's all the wires running out of the top. You can see that there's a hole right here, and I want to run the wires across the top right here, because if you run the wires on the back side, this piece right here kind of pushes up against the metal. I want to push this back as far as I can. So I've got some of these little clamps. I use these for a lot of different things, and I'm going to try, I haven't tried it yet, so you'll get to watch me either succeed or fail, but I'm going to wrap these around all these wires right here. Hopefully they fit. Ooh, tight. That's tight, but that's good. Tight is good. All right. And I think I need to flip this around and go the other way. This. One thing I'll need to do, you never want to drill a screw directly into this plywood like this, or the press board, whatever you want to call it. You want to pre-drill all your holes and then put a screw in it. So I'm going to pre-drill this hole, just a nice little hole that way I don't split the wood, and we can mount a couple of these across the top. think I can come in when I run the speaker wire and just run it right behind this rubber grommet if it won't fit in there. But I just wanted to go ahead and lock all that stuff in there. I mean, it's in there tight. This looks really good. I love when this is done right, and it's just a couple little clamps. It's not much more work to make it look good. I'll do the same thing on this side, just a couple of these rubber pieces. I think that's good right there. This will give me a little slack to be able to work it underneath the carpet in this corner, and then I'll run all these wires pretty much like under the box right here, under the carpet. That cover will go over and hide all the bottom part, but that looks really good. I think I want to go ahead and drill that hole for the sub and run the one speaker wire around, get that locked in, and then try to push the box in there. Because once I have the speaker wire running to there and then into the box with some slack, then I can wire up all the speakers in the box. This is the speaker wire right here. I just need a big enough drill bit to drill through the side of the speaker box to fit this wire through. It doesn't take a huge hole, but I'm going to drill it from the inside. And you may be wondering, why are you only drilling one hole? Well, I'm running these subs in parallel, and in the box right here, inside of the box, there's a vent that actually connects both boxes together. All you need is one wire running to the actual amp because you're running them in parallel. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and drill this hole and then run a wire, and I'm going to leave all the slack in the box. That way I can cut it to the exact length that I need. I just want to get a wire ran to the amp to get the sub plugged in, and then we'll be good to go. I'm going to drill this hole anywhere that I can get it through the side right here. It's going to be a tight fit with the drill and everything. Money. Perfect. There we go. Should have done this before I wired all this. That's okay. There's not a whole lot to wiring up subwoofers and stuff if you are familiar with wiring and things. Even if you're not, I mean, this could, even if you have no experience, this is definitely an install that you could do, so don't sweat it. Just watch this video about the system, wire it up. You don't have to get the same stuff I got. It can be any speakers or wiring. So I'm just wiring up the subwoofers in here, then I'm going to run them parallel in the box. I've got my left and right front speakers to this channel, and then I'm going to plug in the Bluetooth controller. I've got the subwoofer control knob. It just clicks in. It's kind of the old school telephone connector. The remote to a keyed ignition, ground to a chassis ground, and then power all the way up to your battery. And you'll have a fuse in between your positive and the battery. That's it. Pretty easy. A lot of these wiring kits that you buy has that wiring diagram on them. And if you're curious about how to run your sub in parallel or in series, I watched a video last night. All right, now it's time to install the box. And there's 2 holes in the bottom of the box, and they give you these self-tappers with washers on them, and you just drill those straight through the box into the floor. They've set it up where they'll drill directly into where the gas tank was. So the little brackets where the gas tank goes up is what it's going to screw in. But I need to press as hard as I can to get it pressed back as far as I can. because I overlap the carpet in the back, it is giving a little bit more pressure. I think if you didn't have the carpet, then you could push this box further back a little bit, but I like the box being on the carpet, and I think it's going to insulate it better and have less rattle and stuff sitting on the carpet. So I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to push this back, and then I'm going to use my soldering iron to go through this hole to kind of melt the carpet. That way, whenever I go to install the bolt through it, it's not unraveling the carpet. Usually what I'll do is I'll go in reverse first, reverse through the carpet, and then I'll go through regularly, going slow, and if it starts to tug, releasing and doing it again. We've got one wire running to the passenger side kick panel speaker. And we'll go under the carpet all the way over here to the speaker. All right, we got the wires ran. Power's going through there. It is time to put this bottom piece back on. It's time for the subwoofer, so let's check these things out. This is a JL10TW3. It's a 10-inch thin line subwoofer, so it's a lot thinner than your other one, so it can fit in a box like this. Not every type of sub is going to fit into these AIC boxes. Pull this thing out without damaging it. Nice, it comes with this little plastic cover, which I'm probably going to put that plastic cover back on when I install it. But check that out. So clean, looks awesome. This is a dual voice coil. You see there's four different speaker things there. I love this style of wire clamp where you push in, put in your wire, and then let go of it and it clamps down. I'll put the link to these in the description, but what I would do is the same thing that I did when I ordered the box. I got him to order all the actual stereo components as well, because he knows exactly what fits. He made this box specifically for these speakers because it has kind of that indentation. That's what makes it look neat, is it's made specifically for these, so it's kind of formed and it looks good. So just let him know what you want. There's a lot of different types of things to choose from, and you can get the setup. They have kicker, JO audio, a lot of other options. Or if you already have speakers, let him know. He can figure it out and make your own box. So I'm going to show you how to wire up these speakers in parallel. All you're going to do is take two pieces of wire and you're going to run the negative to the negative and the positive to the positive on here, and then we'll take speaker wire and run it positive and negative thing. So you're basically hooking all the positives up and going to the amp, and then all the negatives up and going to the amp. Twist these together like that, and then put it back in here, just like that right there. The same with the positive, and I will cut this wire to length. I'm just taking this, giving it enough slack where I can run it through the bottom of the box and then hook to this side. That should be plenty right there. This kit came with plenty of speaker wire as well, so that's good. We got that cut. And now it's time. We're going to fish the wire. We've got to fish this wire through the bottom of the sub box. This sub box has a slot in it in the bottom that allows both chambers to connect together. It's not two separate chambers. It's actually one big chamber. Underneath the amp part, there's an air passage that connects them together. But I'm going to take this and slide it through and go into that crack and then push it all the way through the other side. Open here, there we go. Look at that. Look at that. All right. So I'm just gonna, maybe I'll get this in the first shot, but I'm gonna stick the wire. That's just a Swiffer thing. See if I can pull it through without looking. Haha! It's the little things in life, boys and girls. All right, now that we have the wire, I'm gonna go ahead and pull some more slack. And then this is gonna be the one that I run to the positive and the negative of this speaker on this side. Got the other subwoofer here, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna jump it first. Positive to positive, negative to negative. And then we will hook in the wires from the other subwoofer. There we go. And on this sub over here, we're actually going to have both of them jumped. So the wire that's coming from the other sub box, we want it on this side. So I'm going to spin that around. And the ground was this one. Twist them around real good. So that connected us both speakers together. This little jumper right here that has both of these connected together, so all the positive and negatives are connected together. Now here is the wire that's running to the amp. So the wire running to the amp will connect to the other side. There we go. So if you trace this all the way back to the amp, it's going to go negative to negative to negative to negative to negative. And then if you trace this one back to the amp, starts with positive at the amp, positive, 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 positive. You get the point. All the positives and all the negatives are hooked together. So now it's just time to set the sub in there and to screw it down where it needs to go. Thankfully, these little grooves will get us lined up where we need to go and get it centered. So let's go ahead and do that. Make sure we're not pinching any wires or anything like that. There's a nice snug fit, which is good. It kind of holds it in place for me. There it is without the covers on it. Nice. Man, all blacked out. I love this look. Yeah, those screws actually don't look bad because the inside is gray. The screws are kind of a off black, kind of gray. I just leave those. Sometimes I get too anal with all the things. Just gonna leave that since I got it. No reason in taking it off. I looked at it and it looks good. I'm gonna go over here and screw the other side in. Alright, now I'm gonna go ahead and wire up the Bluetooth receiver to the amp now that everything else is good. This is what it looks like right here. All this is going to do is plug in the same way that your radio would through these RCA is what I call them. Back in the Nintendo days, this will plug into a receiver part of the amp. Then you run your power, ground, and your remote. And all I'm going to do for these is jump them off of these 3 wires that I already have on there. So I'm going to unbolt those. I'm going to run the wires up here and kind of plug them in on the back side and tighten them down. Then there is going to be some excess. I could cut these to length, but there will be some excess of this cable because you can't cut these cables. So I'm just going to do my best to probably mount it right here and then just bunch up these wires on the bottom and just kind of organize them to the best of my ability. I could have drilled a hole and hid the wires, but I rather have this where I can access it here. And again, I'm not going to be displaying this section. It doesn't look that great. I want it nice and functional and organized, but I'm just going to have to, I guess I'm trying to talk myself into it's okay to leave some wires dangling, but I'll get some Velcro and organize the wires and have them nicely there. If I can push them up just to keep some length in case I need to move them or something later on. Yeah, I don't have to, they've already got cut ends on them. So I'm just going to do that and push the slack up in the top. That way I've got a little bit more slack in the wires in case I do need to move it or something. You never know. So that ended up looking really good. I installed the Bluetooth thing right here, and I just ran the wires up the side, and then I just plugged them into the power, ground, and remote that's already in the amp. It's got its own fuse here too, so that's good. And this is pretty much all the wiring. Everything is wired up. And it's time to go ahead and do the kick panels, and then we can test this thing out. Next we have these kick panels made from Atomic Armadillo Metal Fab, and he did a killer job. I reached out to him and asked if he could make some special kick panels that kind of match the rest of the truck, and he did, and I got them powder coated by Tennessee Powder Coating, and these things look awesome. I've got these JL 650 6.5s to install in those, but first I need to drill a hole in the back toward the bottom, drill a hole in there so I can get my speaker wire in there, and then I'm going to mount all these up to the side and pull the speaker wire through it, and then go ahead and install the speakers once I get the kick panels on there. I'm going to install these kick panels similar to how I did the inner fenders from GMSS. I'm going to mock them up and then just use self-tappers to mount in all the holes, and then come back with some nice black hardware and then just screw it into the hole that I made with the self-tapper. One thing I appreciated about Atomic is whenever I reached out to them, they asked if I had vintage air. That way they could move the speaker box down and it wouldn't get in the way of the vintage air box. So these are going to look awesome. Let's go ahead and get these mocked up, get the hole drilled in the back. I'm going to install this first before the speakers, because the speakers do have like a little logo and I want to make sure it's perfect. So I'm going to install these and then hold the speaker up to it and mount my hole, and then drill the holes for the speaker to mount onto the kick panel. I'm going to run the wire through that hole that I drilled first, and then line these things up. We'll see how they fit. I haven't actually even held them up in place yet, so I want to get it as far up as I can. That looks good to me right there. It's resting nice on the ground. I've got a good line right there. I'm gonna zip a self-tapper in. What do you say? Some people don't like that I use self-tappers to hold things in. They're afraid it might damage, but the thing is, the hardware that I use is bigger than the self-tapper, so if it does scratch, I'm gonna hide it. But I like to use the self-tappers because it's like drilling a hole, but it's bolting it in where it needs to go as well. So I think it's smart. And whatever works for me might not work for others. And that's what's cool about doing this stuff, is you can do it any way that you want. It's awesome. You just build trucks however you want. It's amazing. It's good. That ain't going anywhere. Go ahead and do the driver's side. Get those speakers in there, and keep making progress. We're almost there. If you're still watching, thanks for staying tuned. Do the same thing I did on the other side. Seemed to work out well. Just fold the carpet back. Make sure I don't get any of the other wires behind it besides the speaker wire. Some of those cut through like butter. Some make you work for it. Next up is the speakers that I was talking about, the JL650X. These are 6.5s, and they have mid and treble. So they have basically a speaker and a tweeter on the inside. Tweeter, that's such a weird word. Man, tweeters, whoa, look at this. We've got a drill template. Amazing. Amazing. And is that, don't tell me there's, oh my gosh. They gave me black screws. Look at this. Where were you at with the subs? They gave me connectors. They give me connectors, the little JL logo to put on the bottom, and screws. Amazing. So you've got these nice covers, and there's a JL logo that goes into the perforated spot right there. These are 15 to 100 watts each. So these are a high quality speaker to just be a 6.5. I just want it all JL. I mentioned this earlier, is if I'm gonna go for it, go all out, get all the JL. So hopefully this system sounds really, really good. Nice. Golly, when it cuts through, boy. Woohoo! So as you saw on the other side, starting these screws first to get everything to line up. For some reason, when I just held the speaker up there, nothing wanted to line up on me. So this way worked better. Just kind of lining up the screws, getting them a little bit started. That was the last speaker. It's getting late. I got the from the wife whenever I said, I just got one more speaker. It's always one more speaker, one more wheel, one more everything. That's how I roll. We should make a shirt. Just one more. Ain't that life in general right there? Just one more. Just one more of everything. Wonder how long it's going to take before I lose that sticker right there. It's going to pop off, I think, when it gets hot. Leave this. I'm going to put a little thing on a remote wire so I can hook it up. I'm just going to plug in that sub thing. And we're about to test this. Whoa, let's go. Hey, it is time to test this thing. So I've got it all wired up. I just threw the power on the battery with the fuse. I went ahead and put the fuse on there. But I want to let you know one thing on this Bluetooth receiver. For some reason, you would think the red wire goes into the positive and the blue into the remote. Well, they got it backwards. The red goes to a keyed ignition, and the blue is actually, it says remote out. So if you were trying to remote something else, maybe you didn't already have this remote wire, you could have it where that remote went out. But we don't need that. I just plugged in the red into the remote because that's going to give us the keyed ignition. And when I turn the key, it turns on both things. So that's what we want. And yeah, let's go ahead and turn the key over. I'm going to try to connect my phone to the Bluetooth and see what we got. Turn the key over. Red to blue. There we go. The Bluetooth receiver is blinking blue. So that tells me it's live. I'm guessing it's the JLA. It popped up immediately as soon as I looked at the Bluetooth. It says we're connected now. So let's try this out. So I just tested this sound system. Man, I know y'all won't be able to hear it right through the microphone or whatever. And I've got to play some music that you don't know because I can't monetize and use somebody else's music. So I have some free music that I'm about to play on the stereo so you can actually hear it. But man, this thing right out of the box, I haven't even tuned it. I just connected it to my phone and cranked it up, and it is crazy. Crank it up here. So you control the volume, the song, everything through your phone. It connects in seconds, and just crank it up and it sounds awesome. It's got the bass knob, it works great. But man, highly recommend all JL stuff, the W10, all the things. This is crazy. It's getting late here. I've got to wrap up this video, but I will show you guys more on the next one. I got to put my seat back in and get everything wrapped up. But dude, AIC, thank you so much. SloshSubz, awesome. Get these at SloshSubz.net.